You're watching Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Hey, we're back with my guest, former Senator Marilyn Manabuzin, and we're talking, of course, a continuing series on our conversation about political self-determination. And tonight we're talking about the Constitution that was defeated, the proposed Constitution that was defeated back in 1979. Back then, you said you had two organizations that merged as one. You had, of course, Dr.
Yes.
Underwood that had the group called PARA, and you had your group called PADA. Now, you guys were separate organizations, but for the sake of, I guess, defeating the Constitution, the proposed Constitution at the time, you guys merged as one. Now, PARA had to stand for something in Dr. Robert Underwood's, I guess, organization. What did PARA stand for back then?
PARA stood for People's Alternatives for Responsive, People's Alliance for
Okay.
Responsive Alternatives.
Okay, and your group that you headed, PADA, okay, what did that stand for?
People's Alliance for Dignified Alternatives.
So the PARA and the PADA teamed up. So I guess it came to the meaning in Samoa, PADA, no? Hadyo, pagfatto gini pansangan niya, you know? So was that the essence in the merger to the hadyo?
Yeah, because we felt that a constitution is very fundamental, and it's something where, the people of a location,
Sure.
a government, comes together and does not need anyone else to tell them how to govern
Yeah.
themselves. And so Para is saying, hey, don't come and tell us what to do.
So basically, this is as a result of this, and it was a 5-1 defeat against that proposed, I guess, writing the Constitution. So would you say then this was a springboard to the movement to determine our political destiny?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, the last year, a couple of weeks ago, you were here when we talked about the voter turnout, the voter turnout, and it really showed that there was a turnout when you came to the runoff of two, statehood and Commonwealth.
That's correct.
But when you had 6 on the ballot, there wasn't quite a turnout. I mean, they showed up, but it was standalone, but not really what has been anticipated in all the educational process. Do you think, again, that standalone in itself had too many options, and maybe people were confused as to what options were, and there were only maybe 2 that kind of gave them, a middle ground, and one was more I guess, more affirmative?
Well, there are a couple of options. I believe that when you have a standalone election and people are not as passionate about the issue, then you don't incite them to come to the polls to vote. That's one. Then when you have a ballot that has all these options and they're not quite ready to understand what this means to them, then it discourages them.
Sure.
But I think that having the runoff election to
Came down to 2, yeah.
coincide with the primary election and not a standalone election is indicative of the voter turnout. And again, I think it is important also, Jess, to say that the August 4, 1979 referendum on the Constitution had another referendum on the ballot.
And that was something major, because
Yes.
my understanding is that you had a major situation in the ballot where the people of Guam decided whether they wanted capital punishment, the death penalty, right?
The death penalty.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, there were 2 referendums.
two
on
referendums,
ballot,
I
right.
mean, hot issues,
Yes,
controversial
definitely.
issues.
Yes.
The death penalty definitely got probably all the church goers, regardless of if you're a Christian.
That's right.
You got the vote out, and so you 2 hotly, I guess, debated issues. The Constitution. Either you wanted the cart before the horse, and whether or not you wanted the island to have a capital punishment. In
That's
this case,
correct.
the death penalty.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when when you call me and I thought, oh my goodness, this is so many moons ago, just to kind of refreshen my memory. It was interesting when I went through the data that on the death penalty, there were some districts that actually voted yes on the death penalty. But in the referendum for the proposed Constitution, every district said no. Yeah.
So the voters that were against the death penalty they were against the Constitution. Okay. Correlation?
Well, I don't know. I don't have enough data. I just was trying to refresh in my memory to go back just to see, because that, that's a lot of years
No,
ago.
and the reason why I'm saying this is because, in the sense of a constitution, did the people that come out to vote for the death penalty, would they say now, wow, if we were given the opportunity to craft our constitution, would there be a likelihood that we include that the death penalty would be included in that as a capital punishment?
Well, it's an interesting, it's an interesting thought. I just wish I had a lot of the data,
More
so
data,
we could
right,
actually, make that assessment. I just wanted to see how it panned out for each district, and the sentiment of the voters then, when they were going in to vote on the Constitution, and if there was any real correlation to how they were also voting on the death penalty. But the percentages didn't show that.
I mean, I looked at what you gave me as well. The village of Molesso had one more thing in the ballot. They were voting for a mayor or a commissioner, I think,
That's
at the time,
correct.
right? Commissioner at the time. So not only did Molesso voters have the Constitution, yes or no, the capital punishment, death penalty on the ballot, they also had to get out to vote because you need to elect a mayor.
That's why 79% came out in Molesso. And in most of the other districts, it was maybe about 49, 50, 52% came out.
So it's kind of an average off-year election vote on a standalone, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, interesting, then we go back to this. So how soon after then the defeat of this Constitution, or were parallel movements? I mean, did Parapada, did they dissolve after the defeated Constitution, or did it stay intact, or again go separate ways to help form the
Commission on Self-Determination?
The commission, and then the statuses.
Members of Parapada, I believe that Parapada, I can safely say this, that it was a grassroots movement primarily to go and educate the people on the Constitution and why we are actually urging them to vote no. And we had one purpose, and the purpose was to say no, not to ratify the Constitution. So that was the purpose of Parapada. The members of that organization, they moved forward and they formed other organizations that are indigenous rights, association, people who believe in decolonization. That's why you change the Commission on Self-Determination to decolonization. And they're just very active members
so basically,
of the community.
So basically, in essence, what came out of the no, what came out of the no is, now we're saying no to this, but what do we say yes to? So basically, I guess some of the membership went out and say, we're going to say no to this, no for the cart before the horse, but we're going to say yes to determining what our political future will be.
Right.
Okay.
And that is, do we remain a non-self-governing territory, or how do we achieve to get ourselves away from being a non-self-governing territory in the United Nations and achieve true self-government?
There you go. I got to pay some bills. We'll come back. Okay.
Okay.
Be right back.